constitution of the task force at the time of the election was held, we did not have a member who satisfied the requirements of 6730 who was physically disabled. And as I advised at the time, when this issue came up, although there was a violation for the lack of a member being present and sworn in at that time who satisfied that requirement, the task force nevertheless could take action, and that action would be legal.
Thank you.
Yes, I would think it would be more prudent to put the election of officers to the next meeting of this body, because I think the perception of the public is that this body was not properly constituted at the time that everything was done, and I happen to have that same opinion. So I think we should put off the election till the next regularly scheduled meeting, at which time we will all have had an opportunity to do the right things.
Madam Chair, I agree, because also at the time C11, Mr. Hooker was not present for the initial, proposing candidates for the 2 seats, so I think that would be appropriate as part of the record.
There is a motion on the floor right now, so if you disagree or agree, you can rescind that. So before we can vote, what would you? Yes.
Madam Chair, I was going to say that since we have already have a motion regarding the vice chair, and I think the question of Mr. Pilbell was regarding the chair, that we go ahead and vote on the vice chair, because we are legally or constituted under the bylaws, and let's go ahead and vote on the vice chair, and then make this an agenda item for the next meeting for the election of the re-election or the election of the chair.
Okay. So we need to take a vote on the motion of re-electing Member Fisher for vice chair. I'd like to do a roll call vote for that.
Is there public comment?
Do we have any public comment on this?
Thank you for the opportunity. Once again, my name is Jason Grant Garza, and my public comment is that no, I would definitely not re-elect or, submit Ms. Fisher, because, according to you guys, your last meeting was in June, I think, and you elected her. Where has she been for these last 5 months concerning the Ministry of Sunshine? My God, this is an important position. This is the vice president of the Ministry of Sunshine. Was she at any supervisors thumping her chest about the victims who were not allowed due process or sunshine? Did the sun go down all of a sudden, and all of a sudden now you want to re-elect her? Well, I would question the motives. I would question the integrity. But thank you. Let the games and the farce continue here at the ministry.
Great, thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Yes, Ray Yards, Director, San Francisco Open Government. And I don't come here to throw a monkey wrench into the works. I simply want to acknowledge the fact that certain abnormalities and irregularities occurred. And I, at the time, said that it was unfair to hold any election when the body was, number one, not properly constituted, and especially in the fact that one member that was specifically designated to represent a community was not allowed to engage in either the election, especially as a possible candidate for either one of the chair or vice chair position, or a head of one of the subcommittees. And I'm simply saying the thing that I've said to every task force that I've been in front of, which is you are the folks who are legally responsible for ensuring that all public meetings and all public records are handled properly. If you do not follow the rules meticulously yourself, then you will eventually get into a position where someone will come before you who has done something similar to what you have done, and they will simply point at you and say, well, if you can do it, why can't we? And if you can't follow, if you don't even follow your own rules, how do you take the moral standing that you have the right to tell us how to run our meetings, our elections, and other things? In other words,
Hypocrites?
you have to set the example for everyone else and say, no matter how aggravating or whatever it happens to be, we're going to make sure we do everything, crossing each T, dotting each I, and being human, we're going to make mistakes, but if we make mistakes, they're not going to be any that we made simply because it was convenient.
Thank you.
Yes, Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. I'm glad that other members are concerned with the election at this time. The agenda says seat 11 is vacant until sworn in. I didn't hear any swearing in of that seat, nor did I hear clearly for the public a discussion or a statement that there has been a swearing in. So as a point of information, I think that needs to be publicly stated. I thought I heard a little aside about it, but I couldn't hear what it was. And these issues are not for little asides for yourselves. There's a public you are serving, there's a public you're obligated to. So I would certainly like to know as a point of information if Mr. Bruce Oka was sworn in.
Yes, he was sworn in. Thank you.
Thank you. With respect to the position and the nomination, I think it would be fair and usual for at least there to be some discussion amongst yourselves about the candidate or candidates, and particularly a statement by the candidate, who after all many of you don't know, and certainly the public may not know, as to why that candidate or the candidates want the position, think they are qualified for the position. We need a little openness and a little information for yourselves and the public as to the qualifications of the candidate. And I would appreciate if you would have some discussion amongst yourselves, including a candidate statement. Thank you.
Member Fisher, just to let you know, in the June meeting did have a statement of why she wanted to be vice chair, as did I. So, and I believe you were there.
I appreciate it, but this is now, and that was then, many months ago, and I still think you're doing an important election.
It's too bad they kept silent for 5 months.
You're doing an important election, and it's not going to hurt you or her to repeat, if you like, or to say new things that have occurred since June.
Thank you.
Rigged is as rigged does.
Dr. Derek Kerr. I'd like to express my appreciation for Mr. Oka's statement, which was very reasonable but also very wise. In the rush to commit a political purge, the disability community was completely forgotten by the Board of Supervisors and by this task force. This amnesia is also disrespectful. So as you contemplate vice chair and chair, please consider the member who has been excluded all this time. Thank you.
Is there any more public discussion about nomination of vice chair?
My name is Francisco da Costa. From time to time, I've appeared before this committee. What I like to state is that the Sunshine Task Force has to have legal standing. And one of the most important things that this city and county of San Francisco needs is understanding of the process. So, we've heard several comments, and some of them are in the gray area. We really do not know some of y'all who purport to be willing to serve on the Sunshine Task Force after what we all went through. Many of us who come here do not trust the Ethics Commission. Before we trusted somehow the Sunshine Task Force. And for the Board of Supervisors to not be very compassionate, very careful with the physically challenged community was wrong. And in our process to shine light, a lot of us appeared before many of the committees. Not only the ethics committees and the hearings, but before the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And we did not see any one of y'all sitting here come before the Board of Supervisors and say, as ardent constituents of the city and county of San Francisco, that y'all wanted to shine some light on the blatant corruption that's going on in the city. Now, for y'all to represent, y'all must be stellar. For y'all to adjudicate, you must be stellar.
Thank you,
and I
sir.
don't
I'm
see
sorry.
that. Thank you very much.
There are 10 of you seated now. 3 of you are holdovers, and there's an empty seat. Seat 1, the lawyer, nominated by the Society of Professional Journalists. It means that the 3 holdovers would not be in the running for chair or vice chair, because they're just holdovers, and until they're appointed, nobody knows whether they'll be available after this meeting or the next meeting after this. In addition, if they're not appointed or reappointed, and the 2 SBJ nominees are not appointed, you will have no institutional memory of any kind. One of the SBJ nominees is Doug Comstock, who actually chaired the task force for, I believe, 2 years. He was part of the original group that initiated the Sunshine Ordinance that you're formed under. So I think it would be inappropriate to limit the choices to the new members, who, all of whom, except for Mr. Appel, had never even attended a meeting of the task force before they submitted their applications. I just think it's the wrong thing to do, because you will end up doing what you're doing today, spending the best part of the meeting trying to figure out how things should be handled. Thank you.
Thank you. There's the vote on the floor. I'd like to do a roll call vote.
Bernie.
Aye.
Monet.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Pilpel.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Highland.
No.
Oka.
No.
Grant.
Aye.
7 ayes, 2 noes.
Wait.
Madam Chair, there are 10 of us, I believe, and
Just
no, there-
Oh, I'm sorry, the Fisher.
to vote for himself.